With the exception of a few mob hits and murders, the Mafia hasn't been all that relevant in decades. Sure, there was the famous Gotti trial, and the early 90s were dominated by stories about the Mafia. But since then, it has seemed like the Mafia fell apart from all the government surveillance and lack of fresh blood into the organizations. However, according to the FBI, the 5 families of New York, the Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese and Lucchese crime families are alive and well and growing stronger than ever. So today we're going to tell you how the Mafia actually makes money in 2025. The 5 families are based in New York City, and while they have branches across the country, their New York operations are where the majority of their income comes from. There are 5 main ways the Mafia makes money in 2025, and the first way has to do with construction racket. You see, labor racketeering is nothing new to the Mafia. Back in the day, mobsters would infiltrate unions and then demand protection money from construction companies who needed workers for their job sites. They also inflated the union fees so that the developers would have to pay more money to the mob. This method has been going on since the 1920s and lasted until the 1980s, when law enforcement began cracking down on union corruption. However, today the Mafia has found a new life in construction racket. Instead of just working with the unions, the Mafia now owns the unions. Every union boss in every trade in New York is either a Mafia member or is controlled by a Mafia puppet. This means that any project in New York that requires union workers will have to pay the Mafia. Developers can't build anything without paying the mob. Now, this includes green energy infrastructure projects and new buildings. There are billions of dollars being funneled through these unions straight into the pockets of the Mafia every single year. It is estimated that at least $2.5 billion flows from construction unions into the hands of the Mafia. On top of that, the mob still runs several construction companies themselves and bid on public projects. Once they win the contract, which is usually the highest bidder, they skim off the top and pad the invoices and send the money straight to the mob. Some of the biggest ongoing projects right now in New York are rumored to be mob-connected. This includes a $300 million school construction project in Queens and a $150 million water main project in Brooklyn. The second way the Mafia makes money in 2025 is still through gambling, but it's all done online. Back in the day, the Mafia had massive casinos in Las Vegas and illegal bookmaking operations all over the country. But today, the internet serves as the perfect platform for mob bookmakers. They run websites and apps that take bets on sports, horse races, and other events. Because they operate offshore, it's hard for the feds to prosecute them. But many of these websites are still linked to the Italian-American Mafia. While the internet has allowed the Mafia to reach a larger audience, the reality is most of the action is still in the back rooms. Poker games are still being played in back rooms of restaurants, and illegal card games are being dealt in secret locations throughout New York. These games are still run by the old guard of the Mafia and are mostly for cash. Many of the high rollers are Russian oligarchs and wealthy Asians who love to play big stakes poker for very high stakes. The only difference now is instead of cash, they play with crypto and NFTs. So when the game is over, nobody gets paid out in cold hard cash. Instead, they transfer crypto and digital assets to one another. But what about the loan shark? Loan sharking is one of the oldest forms of crime, and the Mafia is a huge part of the loan shark business. Back in the day, if you needed a couple grand and had no credit, you could go to the local mobster and ask for a loan. He'd lend you the money and charge you interest, of course, but would be much more lenient than a bank. If you couldn't pay him back, he might break your fingers, but at least he'd let you keep your house. Today, loan sharking works the same way, except you probably won't get your fingers broken. Of course, if you skip out on your payments, the loan shark might post on your Facebook page, shaming you, or he might show up at your kid's soccer game and talk to you in private. The worst part is, unlike banks, mob loan sharks only accept cash. But in the digital age, it's easy to make payments. The mob has turned to social media to find their victims. They create fake accounts with nice profile pictures and post stuff like, "Need money fast? Message me." They target desperate people, especially women who are often ignored by banks and financial institutions. Many of these victims have low credit scores and need just a little extra help to make ends meet. The Mafia offers them a loan, but at an extremely high interest rate. Sometimes the interest rate can be as high as 2% per week, which adds up fast. A $10,000 loan will cost you 40 grand in interest alone. That's a lot of money, but the Mafia doesn't care. They're running a business. And while the victims sometimes may be able to pay off the loan, often they end up owing more and more money. The Mafia keeps upping the ante, and soon they own you. For example, in 2018, 2 men were arrested for racketeering after they lent $40,000 to a businessman. The men said they were investors, but were really Mafia loan sharks. The businessman ended up owing them over $300,000 in interest and was forced to sell his house. Speaking of interest, have you heard about our sponsor, Morning Brew? They say they can help you save 30 minutes on your daily news consumption. Well, I was skeptical, but their emails are really well written and get straight to the point. Plus, they cover topics I wouldn't read anywhere else. Like the recent story on iTools that helped create deep fakes, something I'm sure you guys would appreciate. Unlike other news sources, Morning Brew is free and takes a lightly entertaining approach to complex topics, and you can unsubscribe at any time. The fourth way the Mafia makes money in 2025 is still through shell companies. Money laundering is nothing new to the Mafia. Since the days of Al Capone, mobsters have laundered money through legit businesses and then used that money to fund their criminal enterprises. Nowadays, there are a lot of legitimate businesses involved in money laundering, including restaurants, car washes, nail salons, and even churches. But the Mafia prefers to keep things old school. They prefer the dark underbelly of the city and shady businesses like strip clubs, underground fight clubs, poker rooms, and massage parlors. Anything where there is a steady stream of cash flow is fair game. They'll also buy abandoned buildings and rent them out to unsuspecting landlords. The building might look abandoned, but it's really being used for illegal activities, and the Mafia is pocketing the rent. Recently, the Mafia has taken to crypto and NFTs to launder money. They'll set up fake crypto companies and use them to move around large sums of money. They'll pump fake coins and then dump them on unsuspecting investors. Or they'll buy expensive NFTs and then sell them for a hefty profit. This way, they can easily move money around without drawing attention to themselves. The final way the Mafia makes money in 2025 is simple: protection. Businesses in New York City know better than to mess with the Mafia. Back in the day, they would openly shake down small businesses and demand money to protect them. These days, they prefer to be more subtle. They'll offer their services as security consultants or event management companies. But everyone knows they're really there to collect money. Anyone who refuses to pay up will find themselves in a sticky situation. Their windows will be smashed, their cars will be keyed, and their employees will receive threatening phone calls. Needless to say, most businesses are willing to pay the Mafia to stay out of their hair. In some cases, the Mafia will even invest in businesses and become silent partners. This way, they can keep tabs on the business and make sure everything is running smoothly. They'll take a cut of the profits and call it a day. So those are the 5 ways the Mafia still makes money in 2025. They may not be as flashy as they once were, but they're still making a ton of money, and they're still very dangerous. Don't mess with the Mafia. Now watch Most Powerful Crime Families in America. Or check out, did the FBI just expose the most powerful crime family in America?